Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video tutorial on opening Tabia. This should be the third board in the pawn opening system in the pawn opening versus thundering cannon defense opening system. This will be a continuation of the previous board last week, and it is based on the one of the best opening books in the history of Xiangqi that was published in the 1990s. There was a reprint recently. I've obtained the permission of Master Wengqing and Grandmaster Zhang for doing this video. So without further ado, let us begin. Pawn opening, or the Angel's Pawn, the Thundering Cannon. Now red would usually continue with c2 equals to 5, and black would continue with e3 plus 5. Now e3 plus 5 is the main, is more commonly seen than e7 plus 5. h2 plus 3, and black would develop the chariot as a ranked chariot, whereby he would try to move the chariot to this side of the board, trying to start an early counter attack. p3 plus 1 is also another move, another possible variation, which will not be discussed in this board today, whereby black would try to attack the elephant over here, and it will lead to other very complicated situations. Yeah. Red will usually continue with r1 equals to 2. This is a slow but steady approach whereby red would try to control the initiative firmly in hand. Black will continue with r9 equals to 2 to target the cannon very early on in the game. Now, would r9 equals to 4 be a possibility? Yes, but it will lead to drastically different situations. Let's say if r9 equals to 4 were played, red would develop the left horse as a proper horse, edge horse for black, and red would continue to move the chariot to the riverbank, preparing to continue to develop the red horse, and red can take his time to organize his attack, and black would have a relatively hard time trying to mount a reasonable counter attack early on in the game. This is also commonly seen, but because the main idea behind black's r9 plus 1 was for black to try to launch a counter attack as early as possible, r9 equals to 2 is usually advocated. Now if r9 plus 2 were played, red would develop his horse as a proper horse so that the cannons would be linked, and black would play h2 plus 4 for the elephant eye horse. Now it's called the elephant eye horse because these two intersections are known as the elephant eyes of the palace. If any piece were there, for example, if there was a piece here, the elephants would not be linked. And red will continue with c8 equals to 9. Now this move, one of the main ideas was that red would try to prevent any possibility of a pin by the black chariot, and it would also free his horse to attack. If this move were not made, black could advance his chariot across the river to attack the horse, and red would be all sorts of trouble. So this is a sound move under this in this situation. Black would play h8 plus 9 so that he will free this cannon for attack, free this cannon to move, and also allow this cannon to attack soon. Red would charge the horse to the riverbank, and this horse would be prepared to capture the central pawn as one of the possibilities, and that is why black would play a prophylactic move of a4 plus 5 to consolidate the center. Now this will be the position of discussion for this board, and at this point in time, two red variations are discussed. The first would be c5 equals to 6, whereby red would dislodge the central cannon to the palace corner. The other would be c9 equals to 6 for the 5-6 cannons, and both will be targeting the horse over here. Now in the first variation, red would choose to play c5 equals to 6 and target the horse. So this black horse would be the focal point of the board at this point in time. So Black will usually counter very proactively with this move, offering a trade of material very early on. Now in the past, R1 plus 1 is usually played. Now if R1 plus 1 was played, Black would be prepared to play R2 plus R2 plus 6 later on to threaten to capture the cannon, as this chariot will now protect the horse. So Red will continue to develop, and Black would usually attack with R2 plus 5 to attempt a fork. Now it would not be a good idea to try to develop the horse with P9 plus 1 now, because Red would simply do the same, but the cannon would now be targeting the chariot over here, and the issue of this chariot under attack will be a major issue for Black to handle. So R2 plus 5 is usually played. Red would deal with the probable fork by protecting the cannon in this manner, and then protect the horse in this manner. Black would take the opportunity to develop his right chariot, and at this point in time, Black would retreat his cannon to the bottom rank so that he'll be prepared to play C9 equals to 6 to threaten the Black chariot and also capture material, gain material in the process. So Red would have the advantage at this point. So that is why R1 plus 1 has not caught on. Instead, Black would usually advance the chariot R2 plus 6. Now there's another variation. Let's say after we go back to R1 plus 1. If Red play E3 plus 5, instead of R2 plus 5, as mentioned before, Black should not move the pawn on the edge file. Okay, back to the main line. Now because the chariot was now trying to capture the cannon, Red would usually try to protect the cannon in this manner. It would not be a good idea to trade material at this point in time, because once after c6 plus 6, Black would take the opportunity to develop his chariot, threatening to gain back lost material immediately. Now Black cannot play R2 equals to 7 because Red would simply retreat his horse and the Black chariot will now be captured. It cannot capture the pawn, neither can it advance, because the horse would have covered these two intersections, and this basically will be a horse cannon combination attacking the chariot. Black loses the chariot. So that is why Black should not capture the chariot, but should play R1 equals to 4. So back to the board. Because of potential, because the resulting position was very awkward for Red would usually choose to protect the cannon and refuse to trade material so early on. And this would give Black some time to maneuver his horse in this manner. Usually the lines of development of this horse would be Black would try to push his pawn, p3 plus 1 after trading. The horse would reach the elephant shoulder. These two intersections are known as the elephant shoulders on the board. And once the horse reaches here, it will become a very fearsome entity, because it will only take the horse 2 more moves to get to the elbow horse position, and there are many other possibilities. So after h4 plus 2, Red would capture the central pawn to establish its presence on the center of the board. This is a continuation of the previous move. However, it has been advocated that perhaps it would have been better for Red to play h6 plus 7. So, okay, if h6 plus 7 were played, the possibility of Black playing p3 plus 1 would be non-existent. So this is one rather a new another consideration in when playing this position. But in the book, h6+5 was given. So Black would continue to develop his other chariot, and so would Red. And Black would take the opportunity to play p9+1 so that he could develop his horse at a later time. And Red would retreat the horse to attack the chariot in this manner. But Black would not back down and instead play very proactively by offering a trade of material. Now, this is a very powerful, exciting move. In response, Red would usually refuse to trade chariots. Now, this is a move that was played out of desperation, according to the authors. Now, what would happen if Red accepted the trade? So after trading horses, Red would defend, but at this point in time, we can see that Black would have the obvious advantage because Red would have to capture the pawn, but otherwise you lose the elephant also. But in doing so, the horse will be developed, and suddenly the cannon, the horse, and the two chariots will now be prepared to stop this flank. So Black would have the obvious advantage. So h2 plus r2 equals to 3 is usually played. Black would continue to chase the chariot away, and Black would keep on making a series of brilliant moves to seize the initiative. Now this variation is not so commonly seen nowadays, perhaps because of the book. After publication of this book, a lot of the old ways of playing certain positions were gradually lost or seldom seen nowadays. So at this point in time, we can see that Black would have the initiative and he'll be attacking. Now in variation, this would be first variation whereby c5 equals to 6 was played. In the second variation, Red would go for the 5-6 cannons. So this would give Red a very stable formation, and by doing so, the possibility of Black advancing his chariot will now not be existent because this cannon will now prevent that from happening. So usually Red will continue with r1 plus 1. It is a sound move, whereby Black would now protect the horse and be prepared to move his chariot as need be. Black would prophylactic move, and by making this move, it would also allow Red the option of retreating his cannon and playing c5 equals to 6 to attack the horse at this point. So usually Red will try to counter aggressively with r2 plus 4. This would actually threaten the red horse, which cannot move h6 plus 7, or the horse would capture it. So Red again would usually capture the central pawn, and after trading material, although Red would now have a central cannon in place, Black would take his time and play p9 plus 1. Black refuses to give Red the option of playing r2 plus 5, or he'll be in deep trouble. And with and another possibility by making this move is that Red would now be unable to capture the capture the edge pawn, which is often seen in similar situations whereby Red would try to move his cannon away out of harm's way. So with p9 plus 1, Red would not be able to do these two things, and Red will consolidate his defense. Chariot will be developed. P3 plus 1, r4 plus 3. Now this move is played so that Black was prepared to play h9 plus 8 to attack the chariot, forcing the chariot to advance. and at this point in time it will be a rather even situation. Red would have an extra pawn, but relatively speaking, the black pieces are more mobile and in the open. So this will be a relatively even situation. So in this board, red develops the right chariot as a foul chariot. Over here, it develops the chariot as a foul chariot, and we can see that after invasion A, this would be the older way of playing, going for the cross palace cannon formation, and the newer formation will be c9 equals to 6 for the 5-6 cannons. And the 5-6 cannons would seem to favor red a little bit more, and uh, um, it was said in the book at that time in the 1990s, if red were allowed to play r2 plus 5, he would gain very favorable results. So that is why p9 plus 1 was advocated by the authors. So this is a very sticky situation, but both colors would have done very well at this point in time, and it would still be too early to decide who had the significant advantage. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. If you like the work that I've been doing, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.